there's a new legal development in the SEC case against Ripple, everyone's favorite topic. Joining us now to discuss is CoinDesk Global Policy Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also editor of the State of Crypto newsletter and the man standing between me and my 2-week vacation. Nick, what is the judge saying about
Good morning.
XRP?
I'll try not to interrupt your vacation too much.
Yeah. So Nick, what's going on in this case? What's happening with the Ripple ruling?
Yeah, so the SEC announced last week that it wanted to file an appeal against the ruling. It requested permission from the judge overseeing the case for, basically they wanted permission to file a motion for leave to file the appeal. So if this is like a 4-step process, they just got past step 1.
Okay, but like, what's going to happen ultimately? Like, for the average Joe who's watching this with bags of XRP and they're wondering what's going on?
I believe they're called the XRP Army, Lawrence.
Yeah.
So nothing immediate. So basically what happened was the steps are this, right? First, the SEC had to ask for permission, basically request permission for leave to file a motion for leave to file the appeal. Basically, they needed permission to file a thing saying, hey, we want to appeal this. Can we appeal it? The judge has said okay to that very first thing. Next, they're going to file a motion saying, hey, we want to appeal this. Judge is going to rule on that. If the judge okays that and says, yeah, you may appeal, then they have to go to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Second Circuit Court of Appeals and say, hey, we want to appeal this ruling. And the Second Circuit Court of Appeals has to say okay. And then, only then, can the SEC file the actual appeal itself. So right now, I'd say there's probably nothing immediately, there's nothing market moving happening as far as I can tell. It's just kind of, this is the legal process. These are procedural things. We have no idea what the SEC's arguments are going to be yet. We don't know what the, appeals court might rule yet. This is just a sort of very long process.
What's Ripple saying about all of this?
So Ripple General Counsel Stu Alderodi said on Twitter before yesterday's ruling that they don't think an appeal is necessary or warranted. They don't think that the SEC's arguments meet the level of qualification that the courts might look at. So I imagine they'll be continuing on this. Right now, the timeline is, the SEC has to file the appeal itself, file the motion for leave to file the appeal itself, and then Ripple will have a chance to respond to that by, I believe it was September 1st, so about 2 weeks or so, give or take. We'll probably have a better sense of what their arguments are after that, and then we'll get another response from the SEC, and then, who knows, might get a hearing, judge might rule just on the written documents. Hard to say yet.
This might take months.
Well, the case itself began, if you guys recall, in December 2020. We're now in August 2023. So, this is a very long running case now.
The case that never ends. Nick, I believe I've asked you this before, but just for our audience who doesn't watch us every day, could this appeal have any kind of effect on any of the other cases that have mentioned the Ripple partial victory in their cases? For example, Coinbase has brought this up. Is the appeal going to affect any of these other lawsuits?
Yeah, if we get to the actual point where an appeal is being heard and considered by the appeals court, it's very possible that the appeals court will either A, side with the SEC, say that Judge Analisa Torres from the Southern District of New York was, incorrect in saying that XRP on retail exchanges for retail investors was not sold in violation of securities laws by Ripple, which would, be pretty devastating, I think, to some of the companies and cases that have argued that it is a precedent. On the other hand, if the appeals court sides with Ripple and says, no, you're right, these are not securities laws, that'll be a pretty major boost because the appeals court rulings tend to be, I guess, a little bit more precedental for court cases than, a district court might be. So the potential here is definitely important. It's just a matter now of seeing, A, whether or not we even get to that stage, and then, how the judges look at the arguments afterward.
All right, Nick, it's time for Lawrence's vacation. We're not going to hold him
Yes.
up any longer. Thank you for joining the show this morning, Nick. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next week.
See you, my man.
Yep.
That was Nick Day, CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor. Don't forget to sign up for the State of Crypto newsletter on CoinDesk.com.